computer. Okay. Morgan, we're going to today's Rambam discuss a very interesting concept, which is the idea of Shavi Anafshi Chaticha de Issurei. And we're going to deal with the Rambam Perek Chof Halacha Yud Gimel. The Rambam says the following: Mishe Bo B'Zman Hazeh V'Amar Kohen Ani. Somebody came and said that he's a Kohen. Einay Neman. Statement, blanket statement. Einay Neman. And then he gives a list of the things that it's relevant. And then he's going to tell you something that seems to contradict what he just said. Vein mal and oisel kuhuna. Cannot elevate him to kuhuna al pi atzmei. I know why he has to add the word al pi atzmei, because it says vein mal and oisel kuhuna. That's what you're talking about. The guy came and said that he's a guy. So really, he could have just said the same thing. Vein mal and oisel kuhuna v'lei karvner achile. What's this al pi atzmei? Okay. But then he contradicts what he started off saying. He said, Ein Neman, and he says, I will oiser atzim begrusha v'zoyin of halala. Right? He asks himself in anyone that a kohen is also too. Ve'ein metanal mesim. Now, here goes the punchline. V'im nosa oinit maloika. He managed to get malchus. So he's obviously believed, otherwise he couldn't get malchus. V'anevelas loi. Safik halal, somebody who lives with him, is going to be a safik, which is a halal. Because while he has an ability to make himself usher, he can't make others. He can't make the woman usher. For sure. But a safik she is. Why is she a safik? Because we don't know. Maybe he is. Magen Mishnah says, Avalai says a poshut. Because the rule in the Torah that a person can make himself usher. Now, the question is, well, why do you get malchus? You can ask yourself on things, but how do you get malchus? Because our Rabbeinu that he gets malchus. Atam, kiven shehichzik atzmei b'kohen, right? Even if he has a big Kohen, they call it Geshem Masma, and they call it Yisrael Safik. I call it Yisrael Safik. Shvanesa b'vaday al piv. Because he's the Asa. Shvaneman al atzmei. He's believed on himself to mach. What the loss? I believe she ain't like up it, but the woman won't get malchus. Again, Safik Halal. All right, this is a very, very big problem. What comes out of the Mishnah is that, first of all, he gets malchus because he was machzik himself as a kohen. And that's a bevadai. The woman doesn't get malchus, but she comes to suffer halala because he was machzik himself as a kohen. Okay, now what does it mean being machzik? Somebody having a hazaka or something. That this is the status. So the Rambam Perek Halacha Chof in Hilchos Issurei says, Misha Huchzik B'She'er Basar, someone who has been assumed through a chazaka, a Huchzik, and he's a relative, done by Al Pi Chazaka. We follow the chazaka. Obviously, Shem Rai Brurish Zeh Kara, even though we don't have this Umalkin, it gets Malchus, with Serafin, with Silkin, the Seiklin, the Chinkin al Chazakas. Very powerful Chazaka. Now he gives the case. Okay, so there's a like it. Issurei and Isko. There's no raya that she's his sister or his mother. So and he brings a case. A woman came to Yerushalayim. she was carrying a child with her on her, shoulders, and she raised him. Everybody assumed this is her child, and then the child had relation with her. Brought it to Bezdin, and they killed her. So we see that there is that there's such a thing. Now that brings another eye, because we kill the Kalul of Vimai. We kill him. How do you know it's his father? How do you know it's his mother? That's as we assume. They live together. In other words, the way we know things is by seeing the. Okay, so the Mishnah has. How do you compare somebody that's been living for a while in a certain situation to somebody who comes along and makes a statement himself that this is the case? He says, "I'm a Kohen." Where's that compared to Huchzik? And there you need 30 days at least. And here it doesn't say anything. Doesn't say that it has to be 30 days. Just says he comes along and he says that's enough. So it's a serious question. And he says, obviously, he must say that the Rambam here is talking about there was a Huchzik, and it wasn't talking about, it's not because Shavi Anafshe, it's like a real Huchzik, and it's Huchzik for 30 days. He acted like a Kohen, he did the things that he could do as a Kohen, and that's it. Now, there's a Yad HaMelech here, very long, and I'm not going to go into it here, but he really, it's worth going through. He has many points here that are very, very important. He discusses contradictions and what would be the case in contradictions, but the bottom line here, what comes out of it? We don't believe him. We don't believe him to become any of the halachas. And there's a stiri mineve, but yet we accept that he's a Kohen, and we give him malchus, and we didn't tell him. Yeah. And these are the problems. Okay. Big issues. Okay, so I want to draw attention again to the points we made on the Rambam. And the Rambam says that in an Eman, with that blanket statement, I should say you should go through the list that's saying an Eman, get to the list that is Eman. And again, there's extra words here. What's the Alpiatzma? Then we have the Magid Mishnah with Asra Sufik. What's Asra Sufik coming over here? Why does he call it? It's not a Sufik. Then he says, why is he not for the Vadai? He's not Nesa Vadai. He's never said because he said so. All right. These are the issues that there are a lot of other things, but I don't want to get into that. I want to discuss the concept that the Magid Mishnah mentioned of Shavi Anafshe Chadicha Issurei. And there are many different approaches to it. Not many, a couple of very famous approaches. The Shita Megabetzes in Ksubas Daftes says that Shavi Anafshe works because you have a koyach to asa things on yourself, sort of in the form of a neder. A person can asa things that are mutter. You know, the Yehuda and others go to bat. It says that it's not shaykh. It says those who hold in the neder, it's not. And he says, I saw the marit that pushes all that away. He says, it was a neder, would be shaila, would help. Why doesn't it help shaila? Okay, you could say that the Rabbanah didn't let shaila, but it definitely doesn't fit with a lot of Allah. He says, no, Adam never alatzme. Generally, there's a din Adam never alatzme navas. When it's negay directly to a punishment, you can. But when it's not negay to a punishment, right now it's not negay to anything. It will become. But right now it's not. So we believe him. I'm not allowed to. Person can ask, a person can say that a person then want to say that he can't eat this and this thing, right? It's also. And they say it's in the months. That's not safer in Ebenezer. Chelik Dalet. It's safer Simon Kuf. He writes that he brings the Veichu by Harishonim. If it's a Kabbalah, then they would have a heter. Or even what Yochel Chelis Lahachnas Adav Zeh B'Chlal Krisis Bris HaTeira. Should be a Moshe Ben Al Shalom Yisrael. Al Das Hamakam Al Daite. Shein leheter. Now that's why he doesn't have a heter. So, but it's in the gather of a net. Very, very interesting concept. I do want to mention an interesting thing. I saw brought down the Shem de Marie Basson. That they asked him, a Shaila, there was a Cherish that came to Bezdin and said that he saw his wife being Masana. But he was a Cherish. Cherish is a Cherish. Afterwards, he came back and he said, no, it's not true. And he wanted to continue living with her. So the issue was a Shaykh, in this case, Shavi Nafshe. So he goes through and he says, it was like Neder. And why can't you be Shayel? Because it's a Takona, maybe. Come on, Neder Shimshon, he says, they made it. Which we will, Metz Hashem, give a share on. Or it is cause of Eidos Baldin. Adam Naman Alatzme, Yesmi Meyed. So he says that both of those reasons don't apply to a cherish, so it's not good. So therefore, it should be mutter. But then he ends up and he says, wow, beautiful. You can't. We don't know what the reason is. And therefore, we can't rely on our logic. Maybe there's a different reason why it works. He says maybe there's a third way. There's any Yedu Alonu. And therefore, even the Cherish will be us. In that way, if we come up with a different way, then the Cherish will also be us. Very interesting. Okay, I want to suggest a possibility. Maybe it'll work, maybe not. Based on what I have already written about, spoken about, and then you know Yakir. There's halacha that Yakir works. Yeshlach bonim. The Gemara says hen. Yeshlach b'nei bonim hen. He says nemanat lifsa b'necha. We have to neman lifsa b'nei. So the Gemara makes a difference between b'nei kot and b'nei gadol. And the Gemara says, what is kot and what's gadol? Gadol is actually yeshlach bonim. Kot is ein lebanon. So it doesn't matter if gadol kot is really not the word. The word is yesh lebanon, ein lebanon. In other words, Yakir works only on your son, but not on b'nei banim. So if there is b'nei banim, he doesn't have. He loses his nemanis. He can't even give it a son. No, nothing. So you're not even believing on your son if you have b'nei. And that's why it's called B'nai HaGodl. Right? And that's what the Rambam wants. So he says, if Yakir works, Mishum Shavia Nafshe, and that's why it works for the son, so why shouldn't it work on the son even if he has grandchildren? So the Torah says, because you learned from Yakir that the Torah was Megala. A ben she'ein leibonim is not stam. I can say what I want. I own him. I have reshusa. He's in reshusa of. So Mele, if he was shavi on nashka daily serve, that helps for the son because he's all part of his reshus. So whereas when there is bnei bonim, he's not in your reshus. They're too bad. Can't say bnei kamayim. So in other words, the Isser of Shavi Anashe works mitzad the fact that you have a bias on yourself. That's together Shavi Anashe. You have a bias on yourself and on your B'nai Kot. And that's why your Isser will help your B'nai Kot. And that's why when you ask for something, it becomes part of your mitzvahs because you're a balabas on yourself. The Torah gave you a bias for yourself. Perhaps this bias works by a cherish too, and that could fit what the Mariba son said, that maybe there's a derech shlishis. Could be Shavi Anashe is taking the lounge and then Yakir. Because Yakir is bias. That's what Shavi Anashe is. Same idea. Torah gave you what you have a bias on. You can set the status of that thing. Oh, maybe say can sein. Das ist Schatten Rambam. Rambam says Misha Bob is one of them a Kohen and the einen nem. It's on the bonus. Einen nem. Einen nem is the truth. There's no stimulator. The fact that you can answer yourself, it's not the bonus. It's a bit of virus. And that's why, even though he's mamshach and he's mevayer every detail, this is the Hagdom and the Yisrael Halacha that there is no nemonus here. And then he goes and says, but there's bilus. So now let's see what goes on the bilus, what goes on the nemonus. And could be that's what the Maggid Mishnah says, that it's not called Asura Sofik because the government himself, he's a Baal on himself. He can answer himself. It's a bad I think he is. And therefore, that's Asura Sofik. You know, whatever we're together, so he's believed to some things and not other things. But he's a bailus. Whatever he's bailus on, das is ein Koyach. It's ein Koyach. It's a bad. Yeah. So that's what comes out. That's the word that ain't a nema. There's no nemonasim. But there is a chiddush of bailus, which comes like from the din of Yakir. And since the din of bailus, and he gave it to whatever he has a bailus on, the Torah accepts. When he has a bailus on, he'll no effect on anybody else. And therefore, she still remains only a suffix. Okay. Seid gesund, Tatzloche Rabbi. Good. Mm.